I'd like to mention that it's important to try and get more than one sound out of the different parts of the drum set. For example, with the ride, I can get a normal stick bead sound that is traditionally heard. There is another sound, something that I call a push crash, and what I'm doing is I'm hitting the shoulder of the stick on the shoulder of the cymbal, and that's where the cymbal begins to taper down. And when I hit that one very spot, it gives me, some people call it a shank sound, some people call it a crash. With a hand-hammered cymbal such as this, the crash is executed and then diminishes immediately. So I'm getting two sounds out of the ride. The same thing applies to the snare drum. I can get one precise hit in the center of the drum, giving me a full wood-bodied sound. But I can also employ a technique that I'm using a half buzz, we might call it, where I can execute a very, very soft, almost felt, not heard sound, sometimes equated with feathering the snare drum. That half buzz gives me more length to my note, it gives me more sustain, and it varies the sound of the snare between one separate hit and one longer sound. The same could be applied to the hi-hat. Traditionally, people play the hi-hat with a single chick sound. It's also important to note that you can use a splash, either a louder splash or a very half-closed splash. When I use that in my comping, it once again increases the sounds I'm able to use.